The incident took place at a psychiatric hospital where Sam had the opportunity to work as a security guard. He never anticipated that the new patients coming in for treatment would lead him to a horrifying experience that forced him to flee for his life. Before we dive into our scary story, we would like to ask everyone to like and subscribe to support us in continuing to bring you more terrifying tales in the future. This horror story occurred around the year 2015. At that time, Sam helped his mother sell food at the market every day. One day, a regular customer of his mother's shop, an elderly man, mentioned that he was ill but he didn't want to lose his job. So he asked Sam to fill in for him, hoping that once he recovered, he could return to his position. The job in question was a night shift security guard at the provincial psychiatric hospital where Sam lived. Since Sam only needed to help his mother in the mornings and was free at night, he thought it would be a good idea to take up the job for extra income. With this in mind, he immediately accepted the offer from the elderly man. On the first day of work, Sam was stationed at the second guard post, located inside the psychiatric center. The first guard post was at the back of the center. The post where Sam was stationed required him to regularly interact with the patients. At this psychiatric hospital, patients typically referred to all male staff as father and female staff as mother. Sam's work went smoothly, and at this place there was a weekly shift rotation between day and night shifts. At that time, Sam asked the person working the day shift if he could switch to the night shift since he needed to help his mother sell food in the morning. However, the person working the day shift refused, leaving Sam with no choice but to follow the company's rules. One day, while Sam was on his regular morning shift, he received a sudden notification that the night shift worker had abruptly abandoned his job. Sam saw this as a fortunate opportunity because a childhood friend who lived nearby was currently unemployed and looking for work. Sam decided to invite his friend to join him as a security guard, agreeing that Sam would take the night shift exclusively while his friend would cover the day shift. Initially, both of them worked normally. However, over time, Sam grew increasingly dissatisfied with his friend's behavior. He discovered that his friend was involved with drugs and even attempted to hide drugs in Sam's bag on some occasions. This led to a confrontation between them. Despite being the one who recommended his friend for the job, Sam decided to keep a close eye on him to see what would happen next. Surprisingly, his friend continued working without any issues. Around this time, a new group of female patients arrived, and Sam could tell that they were psychiatric patients. However, one woman stood out due to her calm demeanor, unlike the others. She seemed almost normal at a glance, with the only notable difference being her attire. She often wore a white evening dress with a skirt reaching her knees and carried an old doll. She had a striking face with dark red lipstick and would frequently smile at Sam, who always smiled back. Like other patients, she called Sam father. Upon checking the new patient list, Sam found out her name was Molly. As time passed, Molly, who appeared to be the most stable among the new patients, was promoted to an assistant role. Her duties included delivering food to the security guards. Meanwhile, Sam's friend acted as if he practically lived at work, often sleeping at the post whenever he had a fight with his girlfriend. One evening around 7 p.m., while Molly was delivering food to Sam's friend as usual, Sam noticed something peculiar. At that moment, Sam was using the bathroom located at the back of the security post, which resembled a single-story house with a separate bathroom area. The bathroom had a ventilation hole, through which Sam saw Molly dipping her fingers into the food and stirring it while mumbling something to herself. She then carried the plate to the guard post. Sam was taken aback by Molly's behavior. He wondered what Molly was doing to the food they ate every day. After Sam finished his business, he hurried out to warn his friend not to eat the food. However, it was already too late, as his friend was eating the meal that Molly had brought with great enjoyment. Sam decided to keep quiet for the moment because Molly was bringing another plate of food. When Molly saw that Sam's friend was eating the first meal, she immediately began to scold him, saying that the food was meant for Sam. Sam's friend responded nonchalantly, saying it was no big deal and to just give the other plate to Sam. Molly, visibly angry, stood with her arms at her sides, fists clenched tightly. Sam stepped in to calm her down, saying, "It's okay. I'll eat the other plate. It's not a problem, Molly. Please go back now before the staff sees you outside for too long and scolds you." Molly continued to glare at Sam's friend with rage before turning around and walking back into the psychiatric center, her fists still clenched. Sam didn't think much of it, attributing Molly's behavior to her mental condition. Molly was typically quiet, often muttering to herself as if reciting something. However, what puzzled Sam was his friend's behavior. Suddenly, his friend started obsessing over Molly, which Sam thought was just a case of infatuation. That night, Sam's friend suddenly announced he was going home because he felt sick. Sam continued his shift as usual. Around 9 p.m., he went on his regular patrol, scanning various checkpoints. By midnight, strange things started happening. Sam heard a persistent banging noise coming from the psychiatric center, like someone was hammering the walls. He assumed it was a patient in a fit of rage. Shortly after, he received a call from inside the center, informing him that someone had been banging on the outer wall of the patient ward for a long time and asked him to check it out. Armed with his flashlight, Sam headed to the reported location. Upon arrival, he was shocked by what he saw. In the darkness near the wall, he saw his friend, Tim, banging his head against the wall of the psychiatric ward, making a loud noise. It was clear that Tim was in a state of frenzy. Sam shouted, "Hey Tim, what are you doing?" Tim continued to bang his head and kick at the windows mindlessly. After a while, Tim collapsed to the ground, blood streaming down his face and arms. Sam, terrified, kept his distance, shining his flashlight on Tim, believing his friend was having a drug-induced episode. Soon, 2 female staff members came out to see what was happening. Tim slowly lifted himself into a sitting position, and Sam noticed that Tim's eyes had rolled back, showing only the whites. Tim screamed, "Sam, help me!" before getting up and slamming his head against the wall again in a fit of madness. No one dared to intervene. Tim continued to scream for help while bashing his head against the wall. Suddenly, Molly appeared, walking out with the 2 female staff members. She stared at Tim with a strange glint in her eye and began to mouth something silently. At that moment, Tim calmed down and lost consciousness. At that time, the staff took Sam's friend to a hospital about a kilometer away. Previously, Sam had mentioned his friend's drug-related behavior to the staff inside, so they focused on testing for drugs in his system. Ultimately, they found drugs in his friend's body, which led to his dismissal from work. No one initially considered anything supernatural about the incident, but what puzzled Sam the most was how his friend suddenly calmed down when Molly appeared. Despite this, Sam still attributed it primarily to the drugs. Not long after his friend was fired, the former night shift guard came by to pick up some belongings and warned Sam to be cautious of the supernatural elements in the hospital. Sam thought he was just trying to scare him and didn't take the warning seriously, especially since his financial situation was tight and he needed to keep this job. Sam's work continued normally, and Molly began interacting with him more frequently, especially during outdoor activities. Sam grew closer to Molly but tried to maintain a professional distance due to concerns about propriety. During this time, Molly gave him a gift, a dog collar she had placed on the doll she always carried. She told him it was a gift for her father. Sam accepted it out of politeness. Not long after receiving the gift, Sam encountered a stray dog near the psychiatric center. He decided to adopt the dog and named it Panther. Panther had solid black fur, and Sam put the collar he received from Molly on the dog. When Molly saw the collar on Panther, she showed clear displeasure but didn't say anything. At this psychiatric center, security guards are required to scan at checkpoints every 3 hours, at 9 p.m., midnight, and 3 a.m. On that night, Sam was performing his duties as usual. However, due to exhaustion from helping his mother sell food in the morning, he fell asleep without realizing it. Almost midnight, he woke up to the sound of murmuring, which he immediately recognized as Molly's voice. The sound came from just outside the booth on his left, about 5 meters away, where there was a window with a curtain. When Sam looked over, he saw a shadow of someone standing outside the window, pressed close against it. He was certain it was Molly, so he got up and prepared to reprimand her for being outside the building so late at night. However, when Sam pulled the curtain aside, he was surprised to find no one there. The murmuring had stopped, and there was no sign of anyone. Sam reassured himself that it was just a trick of his groggy state and continued his patrol. As he proceeded to scan the checkpoints, which included entering a 2-story psychiatric building, he noticed Molly running near the office area, laughing eerily. Sam shone his flashlight towards her and called the staff to report an escaped patient, but couldn't reach them. While trying to contact the staff, he saw Molly stop and glance back at him, as if checking if he was following. When he couldn't get through, Sam decided to follow her into the office building to bring her back. Inside, it was dark except for his flashlight, which revealed Molly's doll lying beside a desk. He assumed Molly was hiding under the desk and shone his flashlight there, spotting what appeared to be a woman's legs. As Sam approached, the doll was suddenly pulled under the desk, accompanied by chilling laughter. He walked closer, only to find the space empty, with the laughter still echoing. Then the door lock clicked. Sam turned and saw Molly had locked the door from outside. She smiled at him through the glass before running away. Sam, now locked in, panicked and searched for a way out. Shortly after, he saw a light from another part of the building, likely from the staff. Worried about the trouble he'd get into if found locked in the office, he considered climbing out of a window. However, before he could, the staff arrived and shone their flashlight into the room, discovering him inside. At that moment, Sam explained that he had noticed the office bathroom light left on. He had tried calling the staff, but no one answered, so he decided to turn it off himself. When the staff asked how he got into the room, Sam hesitated before saying he climbed in through the window. The staff didn't question him further, allowing Sam to climb back through the window and exit through the door. Even after this, Sam remained puzzled about when Molly managed to escape the room. As the night wore on and it approached 3 a.m., Sam had to conduct another round of checkpoint scans. He had to push aside all his lingering doubts and fears, as the 4th checkpoint was particularly daunting. This checkpoint was located in the patient's agricultural area, a place filled with densely planted trees. Sam had to walk through these trees to reach the checkpoint at the very back of the plot. As Sam approached the fourth checkpoint, he glimpsed the figure of someone sitting with their legs dangling from a mango tree. When he shone his flashlight upward, he saw a pair of legs slowly retreating back up into the tree. Coincidentally, the checkpoint was located at that very mango tree. He paused for a moment to gather his courage, then decided to take another look at the spot where he had seen the mysterious legs. To his relief, there was nothing there anymore. Summoning his courage, Sam walked towards the checkpoint, reassuring himself that he must have been seeing things. After scanning the checkpoint, he took out his phone to check his work messages on Messenger. Suddenly, he heard Molly's chanting voice again. The sound came from his left, where the mango tree with the mysterious legs was located. Sam decided to shine his flashlight up into the mango tree, but he only saw 2 squirrels gnawing on a mango, causing it to fall to the ground. The chanting he had heard earlier had also stopped. He quickly turned and walked away from the area, but he hadn't gone far when Molly's chanting started again, this time louder and clearer, interspersed with eerie laughter. Summoning his courage, Sam turned back towards the mango tree, just in time to see another mango fall. This mango, however, didn't have the bite marks of squirrels. Instead, it bore the unmistakable bite marks of a human, with traces of red lipstick on it. Initially, Sam didn't see the details clearly, but when he picked up the mango and examined it, he confirmed the lipstick marks. Terrified, he dropped the mango and hurriedly left the area. The strange events of the previous night made Sam increasingly fearful of Molly. Her behavior towards him grew more aggressive. She frequently asked him to run away with her or suggested they should live together. Sam always refused, stating his responsibilities as a security guard and trying to distance himself from her. The next night, around midnight, Sam was out scanning the checkpoints again. However, a major power outage occurred, plunging the area into darkness. Despite the lack of light, Sam had to continue his rounds, guided only by his flashlight. To make matters worse, his supervisor had left a message on Messenger, instructing that he should scan the checkpoints every hour until the power was restored. With no choice, Sam complied with the orders. Sam started his patrol amidst the darkness of the night during the power outage. At times, there was some light from emergency boxes installed at various points in the building. As he walked through the office building, he reached a long hallway with an emergency light at the intersection in the middle. There, Sam noticed a patient standing in the middle of the hallway, but he couldn't identify the person because the patient was standing right in front of the light, appearing only as a dark silhouette. Sam decided to shine his flashlight on the patient to see who it was, but as he did so, the mysterious figure walked to the left, towards the bathrooms, and disappeared into the women's restroom. Sam was certain that, at such a late hour, no patient should be wandering outside their rooms. He decided to follow and called the staff while walking. Upon inspecting the women's restroom, he found all the stall doors open with no signs of anyone inside. He checked thoroughly, even opening the storage room inside the restroom, but there was no one. As Sam turned to leave the storage room, he noticed a large mirror on his right, reflecting his full image. At that moment, he spotted a piece of A4 paper stuck to the mirror, depicting a drawing of a man, a woman, and a child holding hands. Curious, Sam pulled the paper off the mirror to examine it. The man in the drawing appeared to be a security guard, wearing a hat similar to his own, and the insignia on the uniform closely resembled the logo of his company. As Sam examined the drawing under his flashlight, he suddenly heard a voice shouting from behind him, "Dad, come stay with us?" Startled, Sam looked up quickly and saw Molly's reflection standing behind him in the mirror. But when he turned around, there was no one there. The incident left him deeply frightened, yet he forced himself to continue his duties, determined not to let these occurrences cost him his job. As the time approached 3 a.m., Sam decided to head towards scan point 5. This point was marked by a large oak tree standing next to a wall, with a small pond at its base. The tree was surrounded by an iron fence, forming a square enclosure designed to prevent psychiatric patients from climbing the tree and escaping over the wall. Sam would always warn the patients to stay away from this tree, even joking with Molly that the place was haunted. Molly once asked him if he had ever seen a ghost there, to which Sam had teasingly replied that he had, indeed, seen a ghost there. Molly had given him a strange smile but said nothing in response. As Sam approached scan point 5, he was shocked by what he saw. Hanging from the tall oak tree was the body of a patient. What was even more surprising was how the patient had managed to hang themselves, considering the tree was surrounded by a fence. Panicked, Sam immediately tried calling the staff, but no one answered despite multiple attempts. He left a message in the group chat and then frantically called the nearby rescue foundation. While on the phone with the rescue team, Sam glanced at the hanging figure and realized it was Molly. She was wearing a flowing white dress that moved gently in the wind, and her legs were swinging back and forth like a child on a swing. After a few moments, the branch she was hanging from snapped, and her body fell into the pond below with a loud splash. A few minutes later, the rescue team arrived at the scene. The rescuers began searching for the body in the water, but despite their efforts, they couldn't find anyone. One of the rescuers mentioned to Sam that a similar incident had occurred several months prior. When Sam described the patient as a thin woman in a white dress, the rescuer noted that it wasn't the same person because the previous incident involved a middle-aged, stout woman. Not long after, the staff at the psychiatric center came to sit and talk with Sam. He recounted the incident he had experienced. Initially, the staff appeared shocked, but when Sam mentioned that the person he saw was Molly, the staff member insisted that it was impossible. They explained that just before coming out, they had seen Molly sitting in her room, smiling and laughing to herself. Despite Sam's firm assertion that it was indeed Molly he had seen, the staff member remained skeptical. This made Sam begin to feel that he couldn't stay at the center any longer, unsure whether what he had witnessed was a ghost or a real person. However, he resolved to endure working there for another week to receive his full salary before resigning. The following night, around 3 a.m., Sam noticed the psychiatric center staff seemed unusually busy, preparing a vehicle as if they were about to go somewhere. No one informed Sam about what was happening. That night, as Sam continued his duties, he saw Molly walking back into the center, crying. He assumed the staff had forced her to return after she had tried to follow them outside. Molly appeared to be wet as if she had been in water. As Molly entered the center, Sam noticed a staff member smoking nearby and decided not to ask Molly what had happened. When it was time for Sam to head to scan point 5, he observed wet, muddy footprints on the floor. He suspected that Molly was trying to scare him again. Determined to find out, Sam followed the footprints. Initially, they were just wet and muddy, but as he continued, they began to mix with blood. What Sam saw made him very suspicious, as there were blood stains dripping along the floor, forming a trail. Without hesitation, Sam followed the trail until he reached a storage room under the stairs. The footprints and various marks he had been following initially changed direction, turning towards Sam himself. Just a bit further in, there was a panther lying motionless. When Sam approached it, he saw that the panther had a wound that looked like a knife stab to the chest, with its blood pooling on the floor. Sam hurried to the panther, which was breathing faintly. At that moment, he noticed the knife stuck in the panther's body was his own. After seeing the knife handle, Sam reached to feel the knife that should have been at his waist and found that it was indeed missing. While he stood there in shock, trying to process what was happening, there was suddenly the sound of water dripping from the stairs. When he looked up, he saw Molly standing still, with a gaping wound in her abdomen, bleeding profusely, and her head appeared to be twisted in an unnatural way. Then Molly's voice spoke, "Can we be together now?" What he saw shocked Sam to the point of fainting. He woke up around 4 a.m. when officers came to wake him and asked why he was lying there and what had happened to the panther. After the initial conversation was over, the officers took Sam to continue resting at the station. The incident served as a clear reminder that he could no longer stay there. Sam tried to ask the officers where they had gone the previous night. They explained that the foundation had called to report a psychiatric patient who had escaped. They found her crying at a bus stop and asked her how she got there. She said there were more of her friends needing help behind the psychiatric center's wall. Following her lead, the foundation officers investigated. The escaped patient said she missed her mother and wanted to go back to her, so she persuaded another patient named Molly to escape with her. Molly led her to an oak tree and did something for a moment before they decided to climb the tree to get over the wall. The wall was embedded with shards of glass to prevent escapes. Molly used a rope tied to a branch to rappel down the wall. Since Molly was smaller, she instructed her friend to go down first while she held the rope to prevent it from getting cut by the glass. However, while her friend was descending and was not even halfway down, the branch holding the rope snapped suddenly, causing the rope to whip back and hit Molly on the head. Molly's body was then propelled onto the glass shards on the wall before falling into the water below. The rescue team, following the escapee's story, decided to search for Molly's body, as there were indeed bloodstains around the edge of the pond. Not long after, they found Molly's body. The officers took pictures and reported it in the group that Sam was a part of. Sam saw those pictures the following morning. That morning, Sam decided to give alms to the monks in front of the psychiatric center. A monk approached him and said, "Young man, if you're free from your duties, you should ordain with me. I fear your life is at risk." This remark made Sam ponder whether he should follow the monk's advice and ordain, as he had been experiencing a series of unfortunate events lately. After returning home, the psychiatric center called to inform Sam that he was being dismissed from his job due to the discovery of drugs in his system. Previously, the center had turned a blind eye and allowed him to continue working because he had reported a colleague's drug use. The main reason for his dismissal was the security footage showing Sam walking around smiling and dazed, holding a knife and disappearing into a dark corner of the building. Shortly after, the panther's cries of pain were heard, and Sam was seen coming out of the corner, crying and carrying the injured panther. This contradicted what Sam remembered from that night, as he was sure he hadn't done anything and hadn't used drugs. Sam questioned his colleagues and discovered that the water dispenser he used daily had been tampered with. A colleague, who had since blocked all contact with Sam, had been grinding drugs into the water. Unknowingly, Sam had been consuming drug-laced water every day. This revelation left Sam confused, unsure if the bizarre events he had experienced were hallucinations caused by the drugs, or if there was something supernatural involved. At that moment, Sam decided to contact the monk and ask to ordain as suggested. His friend, Lee, volunteered to drive him to the temple. Lee tried to comfort Sam, suggesting that he try ordaining for a month and see if things would improve. Before heading to the temple, Sam asked Lee to take him to the psychiatric center to collect his belongings. While Sam was gathering his things, a patient approached him with an A4 paper and said, "Dad, my friend asked me to give this to you." The paper had the same strange drawing Sam had seen in the bathroom. The patient then said, "My friend wants to know when you'll join them." Hearing this, Sam quickly ran to Lee's motorcycle and told him to drive straight to the temple. On their way to the temple, a monk called Sam back, advising him to stay put so the monks could come and pick him up. However, Sam declined, saying he was already halfway there. It was around 8 or 9 p.m. when they were driving. As they drove, Sam noticed a woman standing in the median, seemingly waiting to cross the road. Initially, he didn't pay much attention, but after they passed her, he saw her again in the rearview mirror and realized it was Molly. Confused about whether it was a drug-induced hallucination, he saw Molly again a third time. Sam pointed to the median for Lee to see, and Lee reacted with a startled exclamation. As they both turned back to look at the road ahead, they saw Molly standing right in front of their vehicle. Lee swerved in panic, causing the car to veer off the road and crash into a tree, rendering the vehicle too damaged to continue. Fortunately, neither of them was seriously injured. While they were figuring out what to do next, Lee suddenly yanked Sam backward, causing both of them to tumble into a roadside ditch. Immediately after, there was a loud crash. When Sam climbed back up, he saw that another car had lost control and crashed into the rear of their vehicle. If Lee hadn't pulled him away, they might have been hit and possibly killed. Sam and Lee approached the old man who had crashed into their car and asked how it happened. The old man explained that a woman had suddenly run in front of his vehicle, causing him to swerve and lose control, ultimately crashing into their parked car. The three of them then looked back towards the road and saw Molly standing in the middle, smiling at them from a distance. Suddenly, another car sped towards Molly and hit her. However, to everyone's shock, her body vanished as soon as the car passed through her, leaving no trace of any living being on the road. After a while, the monk called Sam again and asked where he was, instructing him to stay put so the monks could come and pick him up. Despite the eerie events, Sam finally went through the ordination ceremony and successfully became a monk. However, one thing puzzled him on his ordination day. The temple had taken a photo of him during the ceremony, but in the picture, there was a mysterious hand resting on Sam's shoulder. After about 3 months, Sam left monkhood and returned to help his mother sell food, as he used to. Some of his former colleagues from the psychiatric center often visited his food stall, which allowed Sam to learn more about Molly's backstory. They revealed that Molly suffered from hallucinations and seemed to be constantly chanting some sort of incantation. Her husband had mysteriously died, and his family believed Molly had used black magic on him because he had a habit of beating their child, which ultimately led to the child's death. To this day, Sam remains unsure whether the bizarre events he experienced were caused by drug-induced hallucinations or something supernatural. So, dear viewers, what do you think? How plausible is it that all these strange occurrences were due to Molly's influence? Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below.